her do her own? You're not going to tell? This is an incredibly wonderful podcaster and presenter that we have here, Ms. Allison Sheridan, with very cool glasses. I like your colors.
Oh yeah, and they were inexpensive too. Zenny Optical. I can tell you all about it later.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, Al presents at Macstock, and where Barry is also tells us about wine, and many, many other places. We've got that very long bio, and also has a very good podcast, um, NosillaCast. So I'm going to leave it there unless add what you want to add.
I can certainly add. My daddy always said, if you can't blow your own horn, who's going to do it for you? But the NosillaCast is now officially the longest running Apple podcast. Since Adam Christensen retired his podcast and joined up with the Mac Geek Gab, it is now, he was first, but I'm now the longest running. It's been 19 years without missing an episode every single week. So we just passed 1,000 episodes. All right, go ahead.
I'm going to interrupt you with one more tip for people. If you are looking for a tutorial on how to do X on the Mac, whatever little thing you're like, God, I want to know how to do this or how to do it on iOS, Allison's site is a brilliant place to look because she documents all these little tips on, Podfeet.
Podfeet.com.
Yeah. So just want to mention that. Charles is going to jump your connect.
Yeah, I would take that one step farther and say that if you are interested in actually seeing Allison show you tutorials on how to use various bits of software while seeing the screen she's doing it on,
Screencast,
I very much recommend Screencasts Online. It is a paid subscription, but it is one of the best tutorials that I have found anywhere for how to actually use the softwares.
Yeah, and it's Allison and some other folks. Now we're going to hush and let her present.
They're all brilliant. Thanks for that plug, though, Charles. Yeah, the reason I write everything up on my blog is because I can't remember anything. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone to Google and just said, how do I blah, blah, blah? And it says, well, here it is on podfeet.com. It's like, okay, well, good thing I wrote it down. So with that, the subject of today is audio hijack. I got asked for, are there people who already know how to use it? People who don't have any idea what it is? Do we have a combination of everybody, do you think, here?
Yeah, I use it, but I'm not, I use it. I don't have all the capabilities. I'm not making use of all the capabilities. So I've got it for quite some time. But what I use it for is fine. But I would like to, do more with it.
Okay. Who's that talking? Because I can't tell.
Gary Cunningham.
Gary. Okay, cool. So I don't do charts or anything like that. I believe in doing live demos of everything because it's more exciting that way in case things go horribly wrong. So I'm going to share my entire screen here. Let's do that. If I say something that you don't understand or you have a follow-on question to something I did say, bring it on. I don't mind being interrupted. That's just fine with me. All right. So the best way to explain the kinds of things that Audio Hijack can do is by starting Audio Hijack here. I'm going to go down to New Session, and I'm going to show you this template chooser. And this gives you an idea of the kinds of things you can do. So this is not all you can do. These are just sort of like little starter things to give you an idea of the kind of things you might want to be able to do. I'll just briefly go through them. Then I'm going to do a live demo from scratch where we're just going to start with a blank slate and try to figure out what we want to do. And then we're going to, we can circle back and you can tell me whether you guys want to look in depth on any of these. So again, this is the kind of thing where you can do any of these from scratch. You can start from the template. You can start from a blank slate and see whatever you want to do. So one of the things it can do is it can record any application's audio. So think about you want to capture something that you're listening to in a web browser. You can capture that with Audio Hijack. You can hijack the audio. The next one over here is, why is that not? It's very strange that that's not hiding. I'm going to not use this tool after all. I'm going to turn that off. The next one is you can save audio from a DVD playback. You can increase the volume on your Mac. Anybody have trouble hearing yet? Yeah, maybe a couple of us. Just spitballing here. A couple of us might have a little trouble with that. There's things you can do to increase the volume. You can record your microphone or other kind of input. So right now I'm actually using one of these sessions in order for you to hear me through my microphone. And I'll explain how I'm doing that a little bit later. You can tune into a broadcast internet radio and record those sessions. You can record live streams. We'll come back to manual connections because that makes no sense until you've seen how this works. You can hear audio from a microphone, which is, I actually monitor my own voice using Audio Hijack, so I can hear how my sound sounds. So if I'm like peaking, you know, my sound is clipping, that harsh sound you get when you're too loud for your microphone, I can tell if that's happening, or if I've got a buzz on the microphone, because I use Audio Hijack to listen to my own voice. You can do a podcast either in studio where you've got a couple of people with microphones plugged into your Mac, or maybe you're doing a remote podcast. You can record a podcast remotely. You can digitize your vinyl records. So you can, you have to have the right equipment in order to hook your record player up to your Mac. But if you have those tools, then with Audio Hijack, you can clean up the pops and clicks that you get in trying to transcribe a vinyl record. You can sweeten the audio, and we can talk a little bit about what sweeten means. That's kind of a industry term. You can record system-wide audio. And right now I'm actually running the system-wide audio session so that any noise that my Mac makes, you're going to be able to hear it. And I'm using Audio Hijack to show you Audio Hijack. So we might open a hole in the space-time continuum. I'm not entirely sure. That could happen. You can convert live speech to text, so you can transcribe your voice. And I'll show you how that works. That one's a lot of fun. You can record any kind of a voice over IP call. So Zoom, Skype, Teams, whatever you want, you can actually record those calls. And you can record web audio. We talked about doing it from any application up here, but this one is specifically web audio. All right, that's my startup of the things that it can do. And that lets me take a drink of water. I am going to do something different though. Let me check and make sure. Yes, I'm going to start by opening a blank session. So I'm going to double click this. Actually, I'm going to hide this and I'm going to do a blank session and that will auto hide. Let's talk about the basic interface here. Right here is a spot where you're going to drag building blocks onto the screen. And the best way for me to show you is to just start by doing. Every single session must have one input and it must have one output. So a classic thing as an input would be a microphone. So I'm going to drag the input device in, and as an output device, I get to choose from these four, and I'm going to choose a recorder. So right now I've created a session where I can record my voice from my microphone. And let's demonstrate that real quickly. So we're going to have success right out of the box. I'm going to click on this, on that little box, and you get these little pop-ups. Now, not every block has a pop-up, but input device does. And it wants me to select an audio device. This isn't going to make much sense, but my microphone is going to be called Elgato Wave XLR. And then I've got this recorder, and I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to change where it's going to save, because I want to save to my desktop so it's easier for us to find it. So I can choose where to save. I can change the file name, do a whole lot of other things in here, but let's just let it go at that. By default, let me click it one more time. This block is on. Now notice that that's on. This is bright blue. You see the blue lines here, but you don't see any movement. You don't see colored lines or anything. As soon as I hit run, because this block is on and this block is on, we will be recording my voice. So let me hit run. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast Podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. And I'm going to hit stop. Now you can't really tell that much has gone on, but over here on the right sidebar, we've got recordings. When I click on this, now we have a recording. I discovered one thing: I can't send audio to you through system-wide audio, and that's Audio Hijack itself. I've written to the Rogue Amoeba people to ask them, how come I can't play this if it's system-wide audio? But what I can do is I can right-click and I can say Reveal in Finder, and it's going to open a little Finder window, and this is going to open up in another application by the same vendor, and it's going to open on the other screen. It's over here, and with any luck, you're going to hear playback of what I just recorded. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast Podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Did you hear it?
Yes.
Yes.
There, now you guys know how to use Audio Hijack. So that's literally how easy it is to use Audio Hijack. You drag blocks in from this blocks thing here, and you drag them around and make it do what you want. Now, when I was recording just now, I couldn't actually hear what I was saying. Like I said, I like to monitor my own voice. So I can add another output device. I can put it right here, and I can make it be my default system output, which is going to be my headphones. So if I was to record again, this is Allison recording a second time. Now, you don't know that I can hear, but you can tell by these moving yellow lines or orange lines. You see how the orange is moving right there? That's how you know that the audio is flowing all the way through. So it's flowing from my microphone to the recorder, and then it's coming to the output device. Hopefully that makes sense. You want to look for those orange lines. If the orange line is stopped, that means something's wrong. Your audio is not actually following that routing path. So I'm going to click stop, and we don't need to listen to that, but now I'm not hearing my own voice. If I take the recorder and turn it off, now you see that there's a box there. I want to see, I think I'll still be able to hear. Okay, I'm talking. Yes, it's still going all the way through. So the flow can go through a stopped block. Now you can move these around. Like, what if I say, well, I want to hear it before it goes to the recorder? I can just take this and move it over here and it switch places. What if I wanted this to go kind of in parallel like this? Same thing. I'm recording the audio here and I'm hearing it here. So you can move these little blocks around. And in this particular example, none of this makes any difference the way I reordered things. The same thing's gonna happen. Okay, I'm gonna take a breath and see if anybody's lost yet. Somebody ask a question, so I believe you're not lost.
You're fine.
Yeah, anybody awake? Okay, we got one person awake. I see Charles and Linda giving me a thumbs up, and everybody seems with us. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Are you seeing any difference through actually by running the audio through that extra piece rather than doing it directly?
You mean when I switched it like this?
Right.
No, that's not going to make any difference. However, there are a ton of other built-in effects here that you can add, and those will make a difference, the order that you put it in. Okay, so we're gonna get into those in just a second. Let's see, run for yeah. So I mentioned I'll come to these in just a minute, but I mentioned that I can that this is when I first showed it to you, this was on, and as soon as I hit run, it starts recording. But a lot of times I like to turn it off, and then I like to run the session. So now I can hear my voice, I can check my audio. Yeah, it's sounding good. This is great. And then I want to turn it on, and now it's going to start recording. So you can turn these blocks on and off to decide when you want something to happen. The other thing you can do, let me turn this off. The other thing you can do is, you see there's like a little arrow pointed to this. It turns out you can tear this off. So I can move that to where I want it. Now, if let's say I look at my desktop, let me just switch to the Finder. Now that little block disappeared. When I come back, it's there. If I want to always be able to see it, there's a pin up here. So I can pin this on screen, and now I'm going to go to my VoIP call. I'm going to get on my Zoom call with you guys. I don't want to have to look at it. I'm going to just drop this down, and now I can keep this recorder. And when I'm ready to record, I can hit record, and I don't have to go back to Audio Hijack to tell it what I want to do. Hopefully that made sense. All right. Sorry, I'm recovering from laryngitis, and I'm keeping up so far. We'll see how long my voice lasts. I think this is going to be the end of it today. Okay, so we got run. Let's see, I changed it to the desktop. I looked at the orange dots. I'm looking at my notes. I actually did an outline. All right. So I showed you that you've got recordings here, and we've got the blocks here. There's a couple of other different things in here, and some of them are kind of complicated, but one thing I want to show you is the info block. If I close this, this is going to be a session called Untitled Session. So when we look back at, let's see, if we did another new session, whoops, no, sorry, not like that. If we look in here, there's a lot of sessions here because I've actually used this tool, but you see it's called Untitled Session. Well, that's not very useful. We want to change, we can change the name of that to say it's called Mic Record. And now if I come back over here, you can see it's called, whoops, no, I don't want to delete that. You can see it's called Mic Record. So the info button is where you change the name. Now I'm going to maybe mention that a couple of times, because it's confusing where it is and I always forget. And I actually had to write it down in my notes because I can't ever remember where it is. Like I try doing it up here, I try right clicking, I can't do it there. I try clicking in here to change it and it's not there, but it's on this info tab. All right. The other thing you can do here is to hide the sidebar. So you can bring that out. If you open up Audio Hijack and it's like, oh, I can't find anything, you can bring it back by tapping right there. All right, let's have some more fun. One of the things you want to do when you're recording is you want to make sure that, I remember I mentioned your audio might be clipping. That's something you don't want to see. Let me bring this back down so it's out of our way. So we can go down here to built-in effects and I'm sorry, down to meters. And we can bring in some meters to see how loud are we talking. Now, if I put that after the fact, it's going to show what I'm really doing, but usually you want to see this earlier in your pipeline because you want to make sure that your audio isn't peaking before you actually do a recording. So you can see I'm like about -9 to -3 dB, and that's pretty good. But if my voice was cranked up too high, that would be a problem. You would actually see those peak. Let's be annoying, and I'll turn my mic up. Let's see. Okay, now see, you can tell that sounds terrible. I can see that it's terrible. Let me put that back down to a reasonable volume. Another kind of meter you can use, some people like VU meters, just two different ways of looking at it. Now watch this. Whoops, sorry, I muted myself. I'm going to crank it up and you're going to see it go into the red. So now well, maybe it's not. Oh, my microphone's too forgiving. Well, it still sounds terrible and too loud, I think. But if you do have a microphone that allows you to go too loud, or you've got a playback from Apple Music that's too loud and you're trying to record something, you would want to keep track of it with meters. Now you can see I've got a lot of glop going on here. Let me I can close this, or I can unpin it, or I can pop it right back down. You can see it's connected, and then I can close it. Let's say I don't want both of these. I don't want peak RMS. I am going. Oh, look at that. I didn't realize I could look at great big meters. Look at this. I'm learning something. I could grab that and always keep an eye on my audio levels and make sure I'm not peaking. So I just learned something. I think this is the way Bart does it, one of the guys, my main co-host. So let me close that. But let's say I don't want the peak RMS. I can just hit Command Delete. Whoops, Command Delete, and it's gone. Let me put that back in here, and I had a tool that should have been doing something for me. Hang on. I have this really cool app I installed that I want to make sure you can see. Where did it go? Oh, come on. I spent all oh, there it is. It's this one. Start casting. Let me hit Command Delete. Ooh, I hit Command Enter, didn't I? Command Delete. There, you can see what keystroke I'm doing. So you can see how easy it is to move these things around. You can move them up and down. You can change the order just by moving them around. So if you start working on this, I want you to just play with it, drag things in, drag things out, move them up and down. And you can, if you get something you think's pretty good and you want to save it, you can go and before you mess around, you want to save a copy of it, you can go here and you can right click on any one of these and export it. And that'll kind of save it for you if you want to make sure you don't mess it up. I keep copies of all of my sessions that I really need because I don't want to have to recreate them. And then to bring them back in, you just double click them from your desktop and they come right back in. So let's see, what's next on my list? Somebody ask a question. You must have a question by now. No questions. I'm just so cool.
Just showing what you had with the meters and all that. I get stuff using your Audio Hijack, but let's say I've got something from a CD. I've got something where I've converted some of my LPs, and I'm making a playlist, and most of the stuff I've captured, using Audio Hijack, but they're all at different levels. So I've got like 15 or 20 different, let's say, songs, playlist, but they're all different levels. So when let's say I put them on a thumb drive or put them in a CD, they're all different levels. So I'm constantly adjusting the levels to get them kind of on an even plane. Will Audio Hijack do that, or do I need another app?
So I use a fancy app. I'm trying to think. Is there anything that does that? These are all audio unit
Even
effects.
going from CD to CD, because each CD is, got a comparable level, but you put a different CD in, and you're capturing that. Going from different sources, you'll have these different levels, and I'm constantly, especially if I'm in the car, I'm constantly fiddling with the,
Yeah, that's going to be really annoying. I'm
right.
going to tell you first what you should have done, which is not helpful to you, but helpful to everybody else. If, for example, you were using one of these VU meters or probably the other one, the peak RMS, if you had an audio source that was, you pick some volume you want. I want to see it between 9 dB and 6 dB. So you could hit play and watch and see how loud it is as you would be recording it. And if it's too loud, you can actually change the volume as its input. Now let me find, I don't want to keep scrolling so much I make you guys woozy here, but volume. So I can bring in a volume enhancer here and I can say, I want my voice at 50% on that recording. So now you can see the VU meters over here are still going up to the same level they were before, but this one is way, way lower because in between I told it, cut the volume down. So that would have been a way to make them so that they were at least close in levels. Now, this might be one of those stump the geek kind of things where there might be a way. I mean, you could pipe each one of them back through here and re-record it. Because you could do an audio, like let's say you've got it open in the audio files, you open it in QuickTime Player, for example. You could take QuickTime Player as an input because you can use an application as an input. In fact, let's do a whole new one. I'm going to stop this one and I'm going to do another new session and we'll start with blank. And this time, well, let's get rid of you. This time you could say, you guys can still hear me, right? Okay,
Yes.
good. I'm not hearing my own voice anymore, and I should have had that on. So instead, you could say you could take an application, and you can click on the application here, and you could say, we don't have QuickTime running, so we'd open up applications, and we could open up QuickTime. So now it's going to record QuickTime. And then you could put a one of these meters in here, like I think this one would be more useful. And we'll bring this up and pull it loose and pin it. And then you could do another recorder. So in outputs, you could have the output voice, you could have it be a recorder and you could record it again. Now, I wouldn't record it as an MP3 each time. Did you record them as MP3s the first time?
I think I went, what's the other format?
Wave, maybe?
The who?
Wave?
I'd have to go
Or
back and look at the file.
M4A?
They weren't MP3. I didn't go directly to MP3. I did.
Okay, so they might be uncompressed. That would be good.
Yeah.
So if you click on the recorder then for the other people, because you already know this, you can change what here on quality, I can change it from high quality to regular. I can do an AAC. This is also a compressed format, but it's an Apple codec. It's an M4A file, which is compressed but a much higher quality than you get from MP3. You can do Apple lossless. Actually, I'm lying. That's not an Apple codec. This is the Apple codec, the compressed Apple lossless. You can do an uncompressed AIFF. You can get into custom stuff, but you might want to just go like wave to wave or whatever you already had it as, or hopefully an uncompressed format. And then you could re-record it, but you could put a volume block in between. That's a lot of work, right? You already did all this work. So I can show you this real quickly. An application called Auphonic Leveler. I know this is only helping one person, but he's asking questions and nobody else is. This is an application I use to do a lot of stuff, but you can, if I just go, let's see, the home page, you can drag and drop an audio file in here and have it meet what are called the loudness standards. So actually, I can talk to you about this offline would probably be a better way to do it.
Whatever's, yeah.
Yeah, but send me an email and maybe we can chat. But one of the things it can do is it can do loudness normalization. So you can meet the loudness standards. and there's some targets you can set. Like -16 LUFS is the official loudness standard, so you could run it through this. I pay for this service, but you can use it. You can get 2 hours of audio through it a month for free. That might be less tedious than having to listen to each one.
Yeah. Well, sure. But thank you.
Sure. I do have a full blog post explaining exactly how to use Auphonic Leveler for what Linda said. All right. So let me delete that one, unless that's what I was supposed to do next by some coincidence. Oh, let's talk about when you're saving a file, it says date time recording here. And I'm going to save this again to my desktop. Actually, sorry, let me close this one. I don't want this one. That's the untitled one. We want to play with this one. Where'd my recorder go? Did I throw my recorder away? No, it's sitting over here. Who did that? Who's been playing with this? All right. If I click on this, it says date time recording. It says it's going to save to my desktop, and we like MP3 for this particular one. Let me delete this. Come here. There we go. Going to delete it. And you could name this anything you want. So you could put, Al's recording, but I want to have it time-stamped. So the way that got made was, you see this little plus X, and this really doesn't zoom in when I do that. Nothing changed?
No, it's not.
No.
I thought Zoom did that. Okay, well, there's an X right here. If I tap on that, actually, why is that not? Sorry, 1 second. No. Okay, if I go into this field, there's a little X there. And when I tap on it, I can set different things for like date stamping. So I can say I want to have the year and then a dash. Whoops. Got to get to the right of it. A dash. And then I want to have the month. And then I want another dash, and I want the day, and I want to say SVMUG. So that's going to be my new file when I save it. So let's see, let's still run this one, and let me do a little recording. Actually, where it's under my thing. Oh, my screen sharing thing is in my way. Get out of the way. There it is. All right, I'm going to turn this on, and now I'm recording, and we're going to go take a look, and hopefully the name should reflect the setup I did right here. So I'll turn that back off, and I'll close it, and I'll go to our recordings again, and I'm going to right click and say reveal in Finder, and it's going to move it onto the other screen again. And you'll notice now I've got it. Oh, I put a space in there, but it's 2024-10-21 SVMUG. So that isn't exactly what I wanted, but I can go back into the block again, and actually back into here. And I didn't notice there was a space. I think it must add that space separately. Let's see. Sorry, my OCD can't leave that there, even if I'm going to throw this away. Any questions on how to change things like that, how to mess around in there? Nope. Good? There, whew, I feel better. So let me close that back down. Let's see. Oh, one thing I've noticed is by default, the application is going to record in stereo. I'm just one microphone. I'm just one person. Why do we need a file twice as big if it's just a singular, a single voice through a single microphone being recorded? So when I go in here and under high quality MP3, I can go to advanced quality options, and I can change it from stereo to mono. Well, that makes a lot more sense. So I just made a file that was half the size of the file that I would have made if I hadn't done that. I was talking to another podcaster recently who was convinced that they got a stereo recording with their microphone. I said, yeah, but it's you on both channels. So let's see, what are we going to do next? Oh, all right, we're going to do another blank one. We're going to stop you. And we're going to do another blank one. New session, go blank. And let's see, what would I say on my notes? Oh, I'm going to do an application. And the application I've been playing audio for you guys is called Fission. And that's an application also by Rogue Amoeba. So Rogue Amoeba makes Audio Hijack. The hardest thing about using Audio Hijack is being able to spell Rogue Amoeba. You have to be able to spell it to find it online at rogueamoeba.com. And all right, so I've got that, and then I want to drag in a recorder, And let's see. What was that I needed to do? Let's go in to the MP3 recorder, and I'm going to change it again. I'm going to change it to mono, but I'm going to change it, say, I want it, my voice is so important, I want this to be lossless. I'm going to make it AIFF. Well, what if I always want to do it that way? And I just always want this set this way. And actually, let's do we'll do date time. We don't need to do all the messing around, but we'll make it daytime SVMUG. Now, I don't want to change this every time I create a new session. Whatever I'm going to do, I always want it to have daytime SVMUG. I always want it to be mono. I always want it to be AIFF. Down here, there's presets. So I can save this as a preset. And it says AIFF 16-bit mono. I'm not sure it's going to keep the file name now that I think about it, but let's close that. And I'll close that down. And let's go back to I named that other one, didn't I? Oh, yeah, actually, mic record, there it is. Now, what if I go down here? I can go back to presets, and there's my AIFF 16-bit mono. Oh, and it did change it. It kept date, time, SVMUG, set it AIFF 16-bit mono. All of these different blocks, well, most of them have something like this. So right here, let's see if volume does. Yeah, so I've got volume at 53%. I'm going to save that as a preset, and it's called, oh, it says it's 52. That's upsetting. I must write a fist-shaking email to them, 53, 52. We're going to call it 53. I don't like that. 53%. So now if I was to drop in another volume block over here, I could click on it, and I could select that preset. Ooh, let's find out if it does 53 or 52. There we go. So you can do this with a lot of these different blocks. Something like peak RMS doesn't have one because we aren't actually changing a setting. That's only an informational meter. You know, it's not changing the recording. Have I lost anybody yet? All right. So let's pop that one down. Let's go back to fission and recording. And but I'm also going to put an output device here. I'm going to have a default system output. And I'm going to start a recording here. Actually, no, I don't need a recorder. Never mind. I'm going to command delete. All I want to do is have you guys be able to hear fission. So let me go get fission. I've got something open in there that's going to be entertaining. You're going to hear my voice, but it's not my voice. This is an AI voice that I had created for myself last week because I had no voice last week for the podcast. So I'm going to hit run. And when I hit play on Fission, you should be able to hear it. The best way for me to describe cross-stitching to nerds is that it's like 8-bit graphic. You create a picture using different colored threads where each cross-stitch is a little block. Making a diagonal line of these little blocks would be a jagged line, just like in 8-bit graphics. Okay, hopefully you could hear that. Thumbs up. Yeah, so by doing that, you were able to hear this audio. But let's say my voice was too quiet. And this is an example where I was talking about you just want to be able to hear something louder. You're listening to something on Safari and it's just too quiet. You just can't hear it. You could make it be a browser, but we're using Fission for this example. I can go back and get another one of those volume blocks like what we looked at before. And you'll notice that the default's 100%. And it's like, well, that's not going to help me. I can only make it quieter. If you click, if you click down here, you can change it, the scale overdrive to make it louder, 2x, 3x, 4x. Now, don't be afraid. When you first hit 2x, watch what happens. We've told it 100%. I tell it 2x, it changes it to 50% at 2x, otherwise known as 100%. So now I'm going to make this twice as loud. So back away, put your hand over your ears because this is going to get a lot louder. And listen to what we have. Whoops, didn't mean to hit that button. Sorry. Let's play again. I'll just play a little bit. The best way for me to describe cross-stitching to nerds is that it's like 8-bit graphic. So you heard how that was louder, but it wasn't really terrible. You can go to 3x, you can go to 4x, and of course you can set a preset on that. So this is a great way to take something that you can't hear and just make it louder and annoy everybody else in your house. So wear headphones, right? Anybody think that one's useful?
I assume you're still under hardware limitations for how loud it can get.
Yeah. Yeah, you are. There is a limit to how loud anything can get, right?
Well,
I'm
is
not
it
saying it
going
won't blow
to,
your speakers out.
yeah, I mean, is it going to get like fuzzed or peaking involved in that process?
Sure. Yeah, it would clip when you hit the limit of your speakers.
Okay. Okay.
Now,
Well,
there's sir?
yes, and some devices have compression built in so that it will protect your ears.
Yeah, in
You
fact,
know,
you may have that on Zoom. You may not have heard it get too much louder if you've got it set up where it kind of levels the audio for you. Another thing you can do that's a little bit different effect. Let me use my command delete again and delete that block. See how you can just throw them in, take them out, throw them in? It's fun. We are going to look for Magic Boost. If we put that one in here, now it's going to be slightly different. And let me turn this one or it's off right now. Let me just play this. I like the last sentence best. Let's just listen to it at normal volume. Making a diagonal line of these little blocks would be a jagged line, just like in 8-bit graphics. Okay, now I'm going to turn on Magic Boost, and there are no controls. Making a diagonal line of these little blocks would be a jagged line, just like in 8-bit graphics. So it wasn't the best illustration, but what it does is it takes softer sounds and makes them louder and doesn't increase the volume of the louder parts of the audio. So if you've got something you're listening to where somebody's quiet and somebody's loud, it'll sort of level that audio for you. I'm seeing some confused faces there. It's magic.
I wonder what would happen in music in this situation.
Oh,
It would probably sound like poop. Maybe try it on orchestral music in particular. I hear it. You really like that, right? That's a good one. Let's see. Oh, let's do some. What if you're just losing your, oh, there is a control. Oh, on or off. And there's the explanation. It says, give a volume boost to quiet passages while leaving louder audio untouched. Get richer, fuller sound, particularly from small speakers. So let's get rid of that one. And what I want to show you is, where was that? Where's that? I want to do, I did that one. What if you're just losing your low frequency, or your high frequency hearing, like all of us? You can bring in a 10-band equalizer, and if you know what an equalizer is already, I'm not going to be teaching you anything, but by default, it's going to be flat. So every frequency has the same volume adjustment, if you will. It's set to the same 0 dB. But you can go in here and you can choose from any of these options here. A lot of them are fun, like electronic hip hop. We want to make my voice sound like that. But you can do treble booster, or you can do this manually. And let me turn this block off, and we'll listen one more time here. Making a diagonal line of these little blocks would be a jagged line, just like in 8-bit graphics. Okay, now let's turn this on and hear how it sounds different. Making a diagonal line of these little blocks would be a jagged line, that's not a lot different. Let's crank it up so you can be sure to hear the difference. My voice is mostly low frequency, but I don't know about that fake lady I'm pretending to be here. All right, let's try that again. Making a diagonal line of these little blocks would be a jagged line, just like in 8-bit graphics. You can hear it got a little brighter, a little bit brighter. So you can mess around with these. And in this case, like let's say you go, man, that's the way I want to hear Allison every single time. Of course, you can create a preset down here, save it as preset, and you can say, high frequency, the way I like it, or something like that. And that way you can add it to other sessions when you want to use those. But there are a plethora of different options. We can make me sound like a lounge singer if you want. Any questions on that? All right. Okay. So this is most of what I wanted to show you. There's for the people who really want to hit the high end, there's a scripting section where you can run scripts after the recording. And that seems kind of crazy, but the main one I do is one of the things is set event recording, and you can set it to reveal recording in Finder. So now every time I do a recording, I don't have to go find it in recordings, right click, reveal in Finder, because I'm going to want to do that. Or maybe I just always want to open it up in an editor, and you can set your default editor. So that's kind of a nicer automation to throw in. But you can put in like JavaScript things and all kinds of crazy stuff. Let's see. Oh, I don't know how to do it anyway. Why am I showing you? All right. I want to show you, something I haven't told you guys is that I'm really proud of Rogue Amoeba for this. You notice this is a very visual interface, right? You can see the yellow lines. You can see I'm moving blocks in and out. You can tell when I switch the position. This is 100% accessible to the blind. 100% built from the ground up to be accessible. And I can prove it. I've taught 3 blind people to use Audio Hijack. So the way it does it is it tells you things like application 1-1, 10-band equalizer 1-2, output 1-3. If I was to move this down here, this would be 2-2. And it knows where the positions are, and it reads you out everything. It's just extraordinary that such a beautiful visual interface is so able to be accessible. I think that's they get a lot of credit for that. When you first put in your license key after you buy the software, you get this beautiful big bouquet of confetti. Confetti flies all over the screen saying thank you, but you couldn't hear it. So just to be silly, I wrote to Paul Kafasis, the guy that runs Rogue Amoeba, and I complained, and he didn't do anything about it for a really long time. But like a year later, he wrote a blog post that's all about how he forgot to do it, and he went back and did it. So now you hear "yay" when the confetti goes off. So he said, why would I have that be inaccessible when the rest of the darn thing is accessible? So that's the level of detail they're willing to do.
So I've got a couple of questions. If you have, I don't want to interrupt your flow if you've got
Nope.
someplace specific. Okay, under the blocks, if you go back to the blocks for a second, and under advanced, just scrolling down there is declick, dehum, denoise.
Those are the ones you want for doing your vinyl records.
Okay, what about old audio tapes from lectures?
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of those.
It kind of depends. You got to look at what's the problem you're trying to solve. Let's say the recording was done with the tape player was sitting on a table that was vibrating because of a lamp at 60 hertz or something. You had some sort of vibration going. The hum would be a perfect thing to get rid of that.
Okay.
Denoise, if it's just scratchy, would probably work. Declick is definitely one you get that with the clicking and popping in records.
Okay, so it sounds to me like, well, speech denoise for lectures, right?
It doesn't have to be speech.
Okay, I'm just noticing the block further down, about 4 or 5 down, says speech denoise.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so background noise, that would be a good one if you've got in a noisy background.
But if you were going to use several of these at the same time, does it matter what sequence?
Yes.
Yes, of course it does. All
Right?
right.
Especially if it's doing something like changing the noise level. That could make a big difference which order it was in. I would probably try those one at a time, and then if it didn't do what you want, throw them in and see what happens. See what goes on with it, right?
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also would assume that between the level adjustments and the magic level adjustments, if you have just a tape recording set in the middle of a room of people with who knows what levels of audio for each individual person, especially the ones you just can't hear.
Yeah.
That might actually be able to bring them out.
Yeah, it could. Depending on how good it is, sometimes if there's noise in the room, like let's say there's an air conditioner going on while you're not able to hear that low voice, that might bring up the air conditioning at the same time. I'm not sure. You'd have to see it, but that's probably where speech denoise, they've probably tailored that to listen for human speech.
Right. Very good.
One of the fun ones I wanted to show you, let's go back to mic record. What is all this stuff? Boy, she's been playing around. Let's get rid of some of these things. Command delete that one. I just want to make it simple so we see what we're doing here. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to keep the audio recorder block off. I'm going to get rid of this one. Let's say we want to transcribe what I'm saying. What do you think?
Yeah.
We saw transcribe down here. So that's all the rage. This is done with Whisper AI, which is one of the transcription AI models. So let's see, what should I say here? Now is the time for all good women to come to the aid of their country. All right, so it says finalizing, and then it says waiting. So waiting is how it started, and then it said analyzing, and then it says finalizing. So you got to watch what it's doing. Waiting is a weird word, I think. Waiting means I'm waiting for you, not you're supposed to wait. So now if we go over, let's see, well, I guess we got to go see where I saved it. Oh, good, I saved it to the desktop. So let's go to the desktop again. And there's a text file. Closer. Now is the time for all good women to come to the aid of their country. And it tells you that this is the microphone that it was recording, and this is the timestamp. Now, it can also, you'll notice it does say timestamp. Do you want to see it fail? Because I figured out how to get it to fail. Let's add an application block. And, oh, do you see how there's two inputs there now? So because I've got two pieces these are both going to be transcribed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compete with myself, and I'm going to start it, and then I'm going to talk a little bit, and then I'll let the other my alter ego talk. How's that sound? That should be fun. All right, here we go. Whoops, sorry. Nope, stop. That's what it does when you forget to tell it what application, or like if you have a microphone and you forget to tell it to which microphone to use, it'll do that. Or if you unplugged a microphone, it'll turn red, or you quit an application. So let's go ahead and run this. So you can see that it says transcribing, and this is Allison talking. And now let's let AI Allison take over next. Making a diagonal line of these little blocks would be a jagged line, just like in 8-bit graphics. The best. So I'll stop her, and I'll keep talking. And again, you see transcribing. So watch this again, and we'll wait until it's done and says waiting. So it says finalizing, finalizing, and watch, it'll work perfectly this time. All right. Wait a minute. Whoops, sorry, nope, stop. That's when I didn't have the right one up. Let's see what it says. So it thinks it was all me. It didn't recognize that the application Fission was talking, and it should have. I did some tests, and it would sometimes show two different mics, but it would often get confused. So this is, if you look right here on the block, it says beta. So pay attention to that. And there's also two different models here, low accuracy, low resources. So let's say you have an underpowered Mac, or it's a little bit older. You might have to use the low resources version, or you don't want to wait very long. And then there's high accuracy. So that was the higher accuracy version, and it did not get the two different inputs. So it's beta right now, but might work, might get you some of what you need.
Is that an artifact of having the same voice? Well, mostly the same between the two?
Oh, you make a really good point. Want to do an experiment and find out? I told you I can go off the rails easily. Let's go find Bart's voice. Let's see. Let me open him up in Fission. Oh shoot. That's a stereo recording. That's not going to work. Oh, I could just open it up to when he's talking. Open up with Fission. Told you I can do live demos. I think he's the louder one. Let's see.
I have two pet theories.
Okay, there you go. So that's going to be Bart. So this time, so we're going to run it again. Let's see if it works. Okay, so this is Allison talking, and now I'm going to let Bart get a word in edgewise.
About AI. No, actually, no, I have a lot of pet theories about AI because it's fascinating.
All right, enough, Bart, of you talking. There should be 3 different timestamps. Let's see if that worked. Finalizing, and finalizing, and oh, where'd it go? All right, waiting. So it must be that one, 2018. Oh, I'm over time, aren't I? No, shoot. That was a good call, though. All right, so I've gone on pretty long here, but again, it's doing a good job of transcribing. It's just not telling our voices apart very well yet, I don't think. So let me get rid of this. Now, what I was going to do, if I didn't take so much time messing around, is I wanted to ask, is there any one of these that you'd like to see the basics of how it works? We already increased volume.
Lynn, I'm going to call out one of our folks. You were especially adamant about wanting to see something on Audio Hijack. Is there anything for you that you wanted to see? Is he there? Where is he?
Put him to sleep.
Or he had to disappear for some reason.
Who is this for?
You.
Oh, no, I didn't
No, I'm
specifically
just,
ask for something on Audio Hijack. I had commented that I had used a competing app that turned out to be abandonware back in the days of Macworld Expo. I can't
okay.
remember the name of it.
No, I remember you asking about Audio Hijack in particular, but it's been a long time. So, yeah,
Well,
but
I can show you something fun. If we open up let's see, did I save any sessions open? No, that's the one I'm actually using. Let's open up a blank one again. You remember, as I bring things in here, I got an input, I got an output, and you see how controlled and nice and pretty these lines are and how organized they are. And I have to, in order to get it to do what I want, I've got to put the block in the right place. For this line to go to this, it can't get too far away. If it gets too far away, now it jumps over and gets that. I don't have manual control of it. But one of these sessions in here illustrates that you can create anarchy if you want. Look at this thing. It's a hot mess. Everything's just all over the place. You can just move things. We've got manual connections. So this thing is going here and I can put this all over here. So if you get to a point where you just can't get that connection to stick in the right place, you can turn on automatic connections here on the info tab. So that's all that they've done here is they've turned on automatic connections or turned off automatic connections is what I mean to say. So, so these little lines, we could click on a line and I can command delete it and I can add one back by going from the plus to another plus. Or I want to go from here, I want to go to there. I can add manual connections like that. Now you can turn automatic connections back on, but I want you to watch what it says. It says session configuration may change. Remember, you can undo if this wrecks everything. Well, as it turns out, it did wreck everything. You see, there was stuff going from here to here. It's not at all like what I had. So you can do an undo. And then maybe you want to move things around. So you'd say, oh, okay, well, let me stretch this window out a little bit. Let me grab these and I'm going to pull these forward so it can tell what I mean. And maybe it's got a better chance. So let me turn the connections back on. And I think that might have been all of them. Did I lose any? Nope, I lost this one. So maybe you'd need something to move around a little bit to get that connection to be, let's see, we want to go like this more, move you down close to there, and I could turn it back on. Nope. Well, you'd have to fuss with it. But this is a way to get that last little bit of control. Usually you're not trying to make it be all squirrely like this one. But I think that's kind of a fun one to play with and shows you just the craziness you can do. So anything in here, we did transcribe, we did that. The only other thing I would think of would be the record player might be interesting to see. Here's your declick and dehum that we were talking about. Oh, I learned one new thing. I promise. This is it. I'll let you guys go. I was looking at DVD and I thought, well, this is interesting. Remember DVD player? Now don't tell George. I bet Charles. Dang it, I made it all this way without calling him George. I have a thing about Charles's name. I haven't done it wrong in so long. But I'm sure he knows. Gosh, I'm sure he knows where this is. But I was looking at that going, well, wait a second. Let me bring up a Finder window. And I thought, let me look in applications. And I'm going to go down to D. And there's no DVD player in here. I thought, huh. Well, what about if I go down into utilities? It must be down in there. you know what? It isn't. It's actually in this incredibly obscure spot. How did I find it? I think did I right click on it? Let's see. I'm trying to remember how I found it, but I found it in, are you ready for this? Got to go to the top level, into system,
Oh,
into library,
Mm.
into system again, because they're just evil. Where's system again? Wait a minute. Is it system status?
No.
No, shoot. I'm going upside down. I'm going backwards. I got to go to library. That's where I want to go. Sorry. Library, and then I want to go to core services, because that's where I would go look for it. Plugins. Must be plugins, right? No.
Wrong library.
Wrong library? It was the
That's-
top level system.
user?
Um,
This is no.
No, it's system library. Oh, I went to core accessories, not core services. Sorry. Is anybody still fascinated? Core services, applications. Look at what I found.
Good grief.
Did you know that was there, Charles?
Yes, it's rather deeply embedded, and Apple had its reasons for doing so.
But look at those things. Look at all that stuff.
Wow.
I was kind of proud of that discovery.
Wow.
All right. Well,
What does that do? Now that you have access to that, what does that do?
well, so if you have a DVD player
Yes.
that you can hook up to your Mac, you can't
Right.
buy the Apple SuperDrive anymore. They just discontinued it last week. But if you have a DVD player, you can hook up. The Audio Hijack doesn't know a microphone. I mean, I'm sorry, it doesn't know a DVD player, a physical DVD player. So it needs the DVD application to play that audio into your Mac. Now you might be able to use something like VLC. I don't know what else. Yeah, there's other applications, but if you didn't have another application, DVD player would actually play it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So
Kinda
I
cool.
have a DVD player, and they discontinued that, huh?
No.
The physical DVD player, but you can buy them for nothing on Amazon.
Yeah.
You have Blu-ray players, and there's lots of
Right.
other options.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
so
says something here.
is that a DVD player?
That's just a standard third-party DVD player, about the same size as Apple's. Does the same job.
Okay.
Paid
Great.
$15 for it, probably.
Yeah, well, this one's a Blu-ray, so it cost me like 50.
Okay, yeah, we've got one of those. Well, I think I'm over my time.
That's
I will ask one question that probably sends this beyond the scope of the software. Is it possible to do any time-based presets?
good question.
Oh, is it possible? Of course it is. All right, where's one I just did? Well, let's just do a new one. If you'll, well, actually, I could have showed you in one of the templates, but if I do output device and I go down here into advanced, time shift. So what you want to use that for is your like an internet radio show. My friend Margaret Webby used to listen to radio shows from the Netherlands that played at noon in the Netherlands, and she was sleeping, and she would record them using time shift. So if we look at internet radio, I bet they've got a time shift. No, they don't. These are a little bit tricky. I wasn't going to go into this too much because you have to know a lot about the service in order to define it. You gotta do stuff I don't know anything about here to do that. But yeah, you can definitely time shift. What does time shift do? Live? That looks 30, 40. I'm not actually sure how to use it, Charles.
Yeah, that looks like that's an opportunity to take a particular stream and shift it forward or back like a skipping feature.
Yeah, maybe.
More interesting to me, the real question behind that is, could you actually set up something, especially using presets, across a recording and have the thing automatically adjust from one preset, say, to another preset at a specific time?
What kind of a preset of what?
Say, for instance, working as in Gary's example, from one CD to the next, you could put it in saying, put it at this level for this first CD. And when that CD runs out at this time mark,
Yeah, no.
changed for the next one.
No, it's going to know that. Plus, you'd have to change the CD anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't take like a playlist of stuff.
I have these imaginations of seeing them, some of the massive professional soundboards where the person could just sit back and watch all of the level meters adjusting themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
And figure that's probably beyond the scope of Audio Hijack.
Yeah, it is. So you can see I can also delete all these sessions that I created. I can tell the ones that I didn't entitle. Those are the ones I can get rid of.
Okay. Very good.
Oh, you can capture others, all kinds of system sounds too. Like I've done this one is a crazy one where I was recording voiceover. You can actually capture voiceover, the screen voice recording software from not recording, but the software that lets blind people be able to hear what's going on their computers. You can record that with Audio Hijack too.
Okay.
All right, well, I think I'm done.
Cool.
And the crowd went wild.
Yay.
As an extra blast from the past.
Oh, that's a rogue amoeba. That is the rogue amoeba.
Yeah. That's from a Mac world someplace long time ago.
I love it. I love it. That's the first place I met Paul.
Yeah.
Why is this so slow right now? Maybe because I'm streaming audio to you guys. But in about an hour, podfeet.com is going to come up and show you how awesome my website is. There we go. So from here, you can read all of the blog posts. These are these amazing tutorials. Here's my flagship podcast. This is Chit Chat Across the Pond is once a month with Adam Angst of Tidbits. If you're a Tidbits fan, it's fun to hear him. And then Bart Buchatz is teaching the audience to program in an audio podcast with tutorial show notes. And that's been going on for over 4 years. So a lot of fun in there. All right, I'm going to go play with Barry. He's got a bottle of wine with my name on it.
That sounds really good. Give him a hug for us.
Oh, I sure will. I hope you enjoyed his little tomfoolery.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Al. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
All right,
thank
bye,
you,
everybody.
Allison.
All
Thank
right.
you.